when you have something that's really, knocking your socks off, it's really making you lose sleep, really uncomfortable, there is something in that. And what do women do? We emotionally eat, right? We try to cover it up, we push it down, we put other things in front of it, we try to get up all in our head, we try to control.
Make rash decisions to try and, that's what I would do. You would say to me, Kitty, like, because I'd be like, I have to do this now because I need to make this, taking action for me was like,
to fix it, to make it go away.
Yeah.
And then you're just still up in the problem, taking action where you haven't fully addressed the emotion. But as women, that's when it gets off. And that's when we actually create dis-ease, dysfunction in the body, because we're not really in our power, right? We're not on our thrones.
I'm Kitty Bloomfield, co-founder of New Strength and Saturée, creator of pro-metabolic food supplements and seriously saturated skincare. And today I've got my friend Greta back on the podcast. Welcome back, Greta.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. Greta's been on the podcast quite a few times. Go back and listen to her podcast. They're amazing. Maybe just quickly tell people like who you are and what you do for the new people that haven't heard of you before.
Yeah. Well, I think you refer to me as your emotional support mammal, right? So I work with, women primarily, anyone that's struggling to, understand their emotions, understand their mindset, working from the subconscious mind. I call myself a life redesign coach, for women, women that are getting to, I'm 43, we're getting into this time of our life where we're looking at our life and like, what do we want? And how do we maximize the next 40 years of our life? And sometimes we want to transform that. So I come from the perspective of working with your emotions and your mindset to be able to create that change that you want to experience inside of you.
Yeah, I love that. So it's like, how I think about it is, there might be certain things that you want in your life, but for whatever, there's these roadblocks there, whether it's you can't lose weight and get the body and health that you want. Perhaps you want to be in a relationship and you keep attracting terrible men like I used to, it might be career, like there's a job or I don't know, like just things that you want, you like how to design the life that you want and get the things that you want because you can have it, I think.
Absolutely. You can have it all, but we all have self-limiting beliefs. We all have upper limit blocks. Even if you've experienced success, like you are super successful, but you're still wanting to expand to these higher levels. And you can notice patterns of behavior, emotional reactions you're having, whether it's in your business, life, anything in relationships. And that's not just romantic relationships. We're in relationship with everything. We're in relationship with exercise. We're in relationship with food. We're in relationship with people, friends, coworkers. So when you're bumping into these repeating patterns, right, even if your life is really great and successful, you can benefit from looking deeper at what you're experiencing if it's repeating and expand from it. So,
I couldn't agree more. And I've been doing some work, like we've worked together during the whole, when we tried to have a baby, and that was like probably, I feel like the most stressful thing that's ever happened to me and the hardest thing because I couldn't control it. And, potentially if I'd done this work prior to doing that, it probably would have been a whole different experience.
Right. Well,
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's right. And I feel like everything happens for a reason. Craig and I ended up deciding not to have kids, not to do IVF. And I feel so good about that decision, and just from doing the work with you, I think everything happens for a reason. Like us going through that, we needed to go through that,
life is, although sometimes it doesn't feel like it. We might be feeling really crappy or have our heart set on this specific outcome, and it doesn't feel like life is supporting us, and we can't really see it in that moment. But then hindsight, you look back, we can almost always see it, hindsight. But it's in those moments, can you recognize and surrender and know how to move through those moments, understanding that it is working out for you, right?
Totally. Yeah. Always.
Different perspective, it changes the entire game when you're able to look at it with those lenses on, as opposed to it's going, turning to shit, going into chaos, right?
And even, you know, like now we've been, I did another block of coaching with Greta, you know, because I just, you know, like I think nothing's ever stopped me from doing what I want to do or take action, you know, even regardless of how I felt, whatever the emotions were, even if it was stressing me out, I've still just trained myself to do stuff anyway. But, you know, it didn't feel that good sometimes, you know, like stressing about things or people or, you know, just circumstances. And I just could see this pattern of behavior repeating. And, you know, you said a few things to me and I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So I thought, you know what, like I just want to not feel like that anymore.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I don't like pain, lots of pain, continual, like it's probably a bit dramatic, but yeah, I think I could see it and I thought, okay, I want to work on this.
Yeah.
Really want to work on this. And you really helped me, like I think with the emotions, understanding like the root of why you're feeling like this and then allowing yourself to feel it, not judging yourself, loving
Right.
that part of yourself.
Yes. You tired of me saying that?
And then letting yourself move through it instead of like what I used to do was I can't deal with this emotion. I can't deal with this uncomfortableness. I want to try and push it down. I want to try and grapple with it in my brain and try and, you know, out think it.
Yeah.
And then that would just make it worse.
You would lose sleep. That was your indication, right? As soon as you were up in your head and trying to fix it and not feel it and allow it and love it, you lose sleep. And that's your big indicator. Okay, something's off.
Yeah,
right.
totally. Yeah. So it's, you know, I feel like so many women would struggle with this. And you've really taught me that, you know, like that your emotions, they're here to tell you something, you know, like it's not, don't be afraid of them.
Especially as women, we are emotional beings. It's our superpower, really. And it's what we're designed to experience. We are the emotional beings. We're intuitive. And when we block that, you know, talking about masculine, feminine energy, excuse me, when we block that, when we're up in our head, that's why you can't sleep because you're really out of alignment with yourself. And I agree, right? Like the emotions, when you have something that's really, you know, knocking your socks off, it's really making you lose sleep, really uncomfortable, there is something in that. And what do women do? We emotionally eat, right? We try to cover it up, we push it down, we put other things in front of it, we try to get up all in our head, we try to control,
make rash decisions to try and that's what I would do. You know, you would say to me, Kitty, like, because I'll be like, I have to do this now because I need to make this taking action for me was like
to fix it, to make it go away.
Yeah.
And then you're just still up in the problem taking action where you haven't fully addressed the emotion. But as women, that's when it gets off. And that's when we actually create dis-ease, dysfunction in the body because we're not really in our power, right? We're not on our thrones.
Yeah, the queen. Greta's always telling me, be the queen, Kitty, sit on your throne. I'm like, I love that. And then the times when I'd like, you know, because obviously you still have, what I feel like the progress that I've made has always happened when I have these like, so I don't know, some brain explosions, but these reactions to the emotion, but then we'd reflect and, you know, like that's when I've made the most progress, I think, having some, you know, this one session I just sobbed, remember? Sobbed and sobbed. And do you know what else I think, if you're listening to this, is so important is being, you know, when I really started telling you the truth about what I was thinking and how I was feeling, because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to have those thoughts, Greta, some of the thoughts that I had and the feelings and the emotions. And you're like, but as soon as I would say to you, like, as soon as I decided, okay, that's it. Going all in, I'm telling her exactly what I think because you never judge me.
Never.
And then we made the best progress because you're like, see, you just had to be honest with what, and it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's it. That's when you have the ability, when you have that big emotional reaction, it's the portal. That's what you want. And we try to avoid it like crazy, like you're saying, but that's when you can really move through it. And you just have to understand, you have to have the new perspective. You have to have the right tools. You have to have the right mindset. And I mean, who couldn't benefit from a safe container where you can be that open, that vulnerable? We don't even do it with ourselves, right? You're even shaming yourself for having the thoughts. I'm Congratulations, you're human. You know,
Yeah.
this is how we're designed. We're designed to feel these emotions, and they are our guiding lights. They're here to direct us. They hold the secrets if we know how to use them in the right direction. They're going to move you towards your goal. They're not set there to derail you. They're there for you, but you just have to be able to understand how to work with them, process them, be on their side. They're giving you a message.
I think too, like something that I noticed was quite powerful is when you actually truly be honest. Like I'm just going to use an example, like going deep down, I just feel I'm not good enough, that I'm going to fail, that I can't, whatever it is, you know, like, or I think this about that person, or I want, like, just saying it out loud and being so honest with how you're truly feeling is so powerful. That itself takes away. Because before I would have the feeling and then be like, oh, you can't think that, or you can't feel that. Like, that's terrible. You're a terrible. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, these things are designed to protect us, right? Like even those judgments that you're making, whether it's about a scenario that's going on in your life, about yourself, they're all there. You know, we talk about inner child and your childhood to make you follow the rules that think that it's keeping you safe, right? It thinks that, you know, this is what you want. And so when you start to act out of alignment with that, these rules have been set in place for years and you're just conditioned to them. So it really takes a strong stance to say, okay, this isn't truly who I am inside. This is just an emotion or a feeling or a thought that I'm having. And you start to separate yourself from the identity of who you are with having these thoughts. You're human. You're just going to have the thoughts, but there's that confessional aspect when you lay it on the table and you just say, yeah, this is how I feel, right? It's super healing. It can go away. It doesn't become that, as I say, that beach ball that you're trying to like hold under the water, right? Have you ever done that? Like,
yeah. And it just gets it's like so much worse. And it's just so interesting. Like the more I practice it and do it, the more I'm like, oh, fuck, this really works. You know, like it really does. When you can be in the moment and like actually, you know, I get these feelings in my chest, like let it come up, feel it, name it. Like, why do I feel like this? Is because my deepest, darkest fear is this. Like, that's how I do it.
You got it.
And it sort of dissipates a bit. Like it
does, because you're not giving it any more power. Think about it. The more you focus on it, the more you're trying to fix it. It's like just feeding it fuel and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But when you say, call it out, right? Here it is. This is my fear. It's like right? Like it's this big relief and it loses its power immediately. And then from that point, you can make a different decision. You can choose to feel a different way. You can choose to tell a different story, but not when you're in the trance, stuck in the trance of the emotion like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, because and it's happened, like recently it's happened and I'm like, oh, wow. And then when I reflect, I'm like, oh, you didn't do it. You didn't follow your process.
Yeah. Right. And we were talking about earlier, you have to know, like, you don't practice the fire drill when there's a fire.
No.
Right? Like, you already have the game plan in place. So therefore, you know, when you decide in advance and you know this about yourself and you're seeing the pattern, that's a huge advantage. You know, it's not something to be feared at that point. It's almost like you're inviting the next time you're triggered or you have that emotional response because you have a game plan for it. And if you do it once, you can do it twice. And if you do it twice, you can do it 20 times. And it's again, just like the gym, you're building that muscle, the repetitions, it's the same kind of concept, but you're building the emotional muscles.
I think too, like one thing that's, as the more we progress with this, the more it sort of cements itself for me because, you know, like you're doing it and you're a bit like, is this working? Is it like, you know, you sort of not, and then I think the more I do it, I get because I need to understand as well, like why, like it helps me, it just helps me practice it more, you know, because I'm very practical, like.
You're great with that. You're an action taker. You like to take the actions.
But I think recently something that you said to me, because I think maybe for a while there, I thought, I'm going to get to the point where I don't have any emotions about anything, right? But that's not true. That's not true. You will always have emotions, but and they're good. They're there. But now it's like going, okay, accepting that and going, okay, when it comes up, it's okay. Like just, again, I think that was a judgment thing going, I want to be this person that is just like this all the time. Does that make sense?
Yes. What I find, it's interesting that you're saying this, is that it almost deepens your ability to feel because you're not afraid of your emotions anymore,
Yeah.
and it's like you have power. They're your friend and you're moving with them. And so it actually allows you to feel the real emotion,
Yeah.
real connection. It like clears the static and the noise and all these other emotions that are there to protect you. And then that just means, right, you're able to be fully you more. And whatever you do, you show up more in alignment with yourself, more Kitty. You give more in your relationships, you give more to your training, you give more to your business. And you really feel your love can actually deepen because you're not being ruled by the fears. Like you said, calling it out, this is a fear that's driving this behavior.
And that's what it always is. Like when I've practiced it now and the feeling comes up, I'm like, what's the fear underneath the feeling? Why are you feeling this? You're feeling this because you're worried that this is going to happen. This is what you think is going to happen. Yeah.
And isn't it kind of like an art and a skill that you're developing now to be able to question it and to separate yourself from the emotion, like the reaction that you're having, to get to the root? You've taught yourself now a process to be able to set yourself free, right? Where you don't have to be reactionary to conditions. Like you can still feel the emotion, but then move forward.
Yeah. You don't need to fix anything. Yeah. My thing was always, I've got to fix something, or I've got to take some action to stop myself having these emotions, to make myself feel safe again. So I didn't have these emotions, but you are safe anyway. When you have the emotions, you can still be safe.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's reassuring yourself, right? Like, because you're separating yourself from, this emotion is happening to me, I feel out of control, or you're understanding this is just moving through me. I'm a human. I'm designed to have these emotions. It's giving me some information. What's the information? You're kind of turning it into this inquisitive process, right? Like, oh, it's interesting. You feel it. Okay. And then I question it. And then it's working for you now.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. Hey, like it really does work. Yeah. It really does. And I think just because, and when you admit, okay, I'm feeling this way because my deepest, darkest fear is this. And then you're like, eventually you get to a point where you're like, okay, if that happens, then I'll still be okay. Like
surrendering process, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, facing the fear. And like you said, you always did that initial step. Like even if you felt, negative emotion or fear, you didn't let that block you. But like you said, it can sometimes feel uncomfortable. But if you go into a process knowing like, hey, I have some fear about this and I'm confident that I'm capable of working through it. So empowering. Like what would stop you in life at that point? It's just a matter of you're going to achieve it, right? It's just a matter of when or what's going to happen along the way. It's not this like great fear of like, can I do it? Can I not do it? I don't know. No, you are building that confidence within yourself. No, I know I can do it. And now I feel even more confident and capable because I don't fear the emotions that are coming up.
And I think that's such a good point because I would always do it anyway. But now it just feels more aligned.
Well, yeah, you've just created a double superpower because you're already naturally inclined. And now you have this power of understanding and in your drive and your ability. It, like I said, it only increases who you are. It will never take away your ability of feeling your emotions or changing who you are at the core. It only reveals more of your authentic self. So you can use that super drive even better.
Maybe, Greta, could you give some examples? So I'm trying to think about like what are the most common things? Like, okay, well, think about back like 10 years ago. I really wanted to meet someone.
Yeah.
Women who are single or in relationships they're not happy in. Like, how could this help them either leave the relationship or get the man that they want?
Right. Well, we're all human and we're all being driven probably, like you said, you hit the nail on the head with that deep core belief that we're not enough in some way. It's what drives women to diet, right? That awful restrictive dieting that we've been through. It's what drives women to give themselves up in relationships, to lose their identity, to people please, to put themselves last behind their children, right? We hear that a lot. And, you know, they give their lives up. I mean, obviously, yes, you love your family, you love your spouse, you love your partner, but there's a difference, right? When you know that you're putting your needs on the back burner, you know, people pleasing, when they experience people pleasing, procrastination, and perfectionism, and those things come up in relationships, right? You experience those, like, I want to please my partner above all else because I'm not good enough. I just want them to love me, right? That's the people pleasing. I want to be perfect. I want to have the perfect body before I start dating again, right? Like, or he doesn't love me because my body isn't perfect. That might be the initial catalyst, but like I said, like you hit the nail on the head when everybody just has some form of that, I'm just not good enough. And when we begin to look at that and we leave the other person out of it in relationship, we leave the men out of it, we leave how the partner is showing up and behaving, and we can't use them as an excuse anymore, that we know inside of us that they're reflecting back to us, or they're in our life to reveal this to us. And we show up in partnership, or we show up in relationship to anything with that mindset, then we can heal what's inside of us so we can have what we want. So the partner can show up differently for us. So we can see, oh my gosh, like I am not, you know, I fall in love, and then everything, my friends go to the side, my diet goes to the side, the way I exercise goes to the side, but because I'm afraid I'm going to lose them, and we can't stick with the diet, or we can't stick with the game plan. And so it's understanding to build that self-worth, self-love, harness your emotions inside of you, and you can stay the course and still have your partner, right? Like, it feels like death. I know I said this before on some podcasts for women, for people pleasing. Like, if they were to not please their partner, or think that they let their partner down, or in relationship, boyfriends, whatever, and really being able to understand those driving emotions underneath, right? It just infiltrates every area of your life. So being able to look at that 10 years ago, right? To, like you're saying, how you would behave in relationship in comparison to today, when we were talking earlier, like how much different would you feel in that relationship? How different partners you would attract, right? What you would tolerate, what you wouldn't tolerate. It just changes the game completely. So you're using the experiences that you're having in your life to reflect probably just some version of that, I'm not good enough. And then we react and we want to do the external things to fix it. But you're doing, like, your external things that you do in your life are now mirroring effectively what's inside, right? Your identity. They're congruent.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, if anyone's listening to this, if you're really struggling, like, to lose weight, or you've been trying to lose weight for a long time and you, for whatever reason, can't do it, or you've got relationships, maybe you're single, or you're in a relationship that you don't want to be in, or perhaps you're not where you want to be in your business, or, you whatever. Like, I highly recommend to do this. It really works, as long as you can be so brutally honest, because I feel like that's when we made the most progress.
Yeah. Same with me. Yeah. When I have a coach as well. And it's just when you are so honest with yourself that it hurts.
It hurt. It has to hurt. You have to cry. Like that time when I just sobbed, and so when I finally told, I was like, this, and you were like, see, like, it just, and then afterwards I was like, oh God. Like,
thank God.
Yeah.
Take it from me, right? Take it from me. And that's essentially what you're doing. You're like, I can't hold this burden anymore. It's hard to keep that in, or to try to maneuver it and manage it. And it's just allowing it to move through your body. That's what emotions are designed to do. And it's such a relief to be able to call it out, recognize it, own it, right? That's a value that you have. Own it. And then when you own it, you can do something about it.
You can make a different choice.
Yeah. But if you don't own it, like, what are you going to do with it?
And, like, you'll just be so much happier.
Yeah.
Like, you'll just feel better. and happier. Not saying you should be happy all the time, but, you know, like obviously we go through hard times and have, you know, feel sadness. It's not that, but it's just you. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't even just really describe it.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I was saying, you show up more fully for life. You know, like whether it's happiness, whether it's calm, whether it's peace, you show up more for your children, you show up more for your partner, your job, the things you love, when you have a solid grasp on your emotions. That doesn't mean you won't emote. We're women. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's great. You know, it's like we said, it's happening for you, but it's accepting that and understanding how to let it work for you.
So good, Greta. So how can people like find you? What do you do? Like courses, working with people, like what's...
Yeah, so I have a couple different ways that women can work with me specifically. I have a Live Lighter Now program that I specifically deal with emotional eating, binge eating, like the emotional side of weight loss and just your relationship with food and movement. I also have a program called Radical Reinvention, and that's kind of my flagship program now, where my work and my progress has led me to is working with women in this stage of life, like I said in the beginning, who are, you know, maybe empty nesters and they're beginning to want to live life on their terms now, and how to do that, how to create a radical goal and go for it and line yourself up, use your emotions, get your mindset on board. And then I have, you know, working with me in a one-to-one capacity with most high level support as well. So well, I'm sure you'll be able to share the details of my website, and then we can just direct people and we can see which program might work best for you, what path, what avenue. So there's several different ways.
Yeah, I think too, like if you're a woman who's an entrepreneur, like this can be so powerful because, you know, like I think, like I said before, like I'm pretty good with just pushing forward regardless of how I feel. But I think if you're in your business and maybe you're afraid or you're not making decisions, or like this can be really helpful, I think, to remove those roadblocks, and then, you know, whatever it is that you truly want, you can get it.
Yeah. Well, even like if you're at a certain income level and you want to expand like your business and you just keep hitting that same income level, it's good, but you have goals and you keep seeing, you know, the common denominator might be yourself or your emotions, or there might be a block. And I work with a lot of high achieving women like Kitty, and, you know, they don't have like terrible problems in their life. They're wanting to just reach higher and higher. And I call my, you know, in those situations, I'm their emotional wing woman. Right?
Yeah,
like
totally. And Greta's the best. You can message her at any time, and you're always like, so, because I think a lot of, like we say, the best progress happens when you're having, I know I like to call them my brain explosions. I know that's not what they are, but that's how I do.
That's actually how you and you know, you relate to it. It does feel like that sometimes, but yeah, in the moment, and you are so good. You utilize my coaching, right? That's the key. In the moment, that's the super critical moment when we can, you know, transmute it, transcend it. And so when you are active and you have a desire to want to fix this in your life, then you take advantage of the coaching, and I'm right there to help you through it on the high level, you know, support, especially with women and their businesses or whatever you're experiencing. Because look, I mean, there are a million marketing programs out there, right? Would you say financial investments for businesses? Like there's not a lack of that. But have you ever found any support for yourself other than somebody saying, go to therapy, right? On how to, you know, you're especially you're working with your partner in a business, you are entrepreneurs, uncharted territory, how your emotions show up for you, like, is really important. Like if something's happening in your relationship or happening in your life, it affects your business and vice versa. So looking at them separately and isolating them, it's all together. And so it's a super important factor to the success of your business, what you're doing, but like it's always not in the business mix, it seems, right? It's about strategy and marketing and what are you going to do, sales and ads and things like that.
Obviously is important, but I think like
of course,
you get the foundation, you know, like, yeah, like if you can do this, then I think that other stuff is like, well, you'll get there with that eventually, because it's just testing, you know, you just got to, but you'll want to show up and do it, and you'll get used to failing, and you'll, you know, like just you keep going and you keep trying, and you.
Well, some people get stuck because they're afraid to fail. Like we
Yeah.
right? So you're setting down the path of entrepreneurship and you can't get past the fact that you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Now,
Or you're so stuck in a thing of like, this is how it's got to be.
right?
I've really learned that you can't be like that because you have to adapt and change and evolve and sometimes let go of some old beliefs around things if you want to keep growing.
In everything in life and what you guys do in the coaching, how you think about food, how you think about training. I mean, it's in everything. So you're spot on for sure. As always.
Oh, thanks so much, Greta. And as always, take a screenshot of the episode and share it on Instagram stories and tag me at KITTYBLOMFIELD and share your biggest takeaways. And then each month I pick a winner and they get a tub of Saturée Premium Collagen valued at $79. And I'll be back again next week.